Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review full-time reaction video after Rangers secured the League Cup after a lengthy wait, winning 1-0 over Aberdeen at Hampden. We are sorry about the wait, folks. We had to get the reaction from Philippe Clement and a number of the jubilant Rangers players. We have now heard from them all, so now it's time to go live and discuss a glorious day at Hampden. We're also live on TikTok as well, so if you want to get your questions over to us, then you can do so either on Facebook, YouTube, or on TikTok as well. Right, let's get stuck in, lads. You are at Hampden for us. James Tavernier netting the only goal of the game. Pretty scrappy encounter, it's fair to say. I think second half Rangers were well on top, totally dominant. But after missing a few opportunities, you're thinking, could this be just one of our days? But thankfully, that wasn't in the script. James Tavernier, as he has so often done, rising to the occasion, leading by example, and it was his goal that secured that League Cup trophy, which will find its way back to the Ibrox trophy room. It's been a long, long time coming. Guys, your initial reaction to what unfolded before our very eyes at Hampden?
Yeah, listen, I think every single one of us before this game, Derek, would have said, just get the win by hook or crook, and no matter how we do it, just get it done. And I thought it was a very nervous first 45. Didn't think there was much in it. Seamer's shot, McCausland did a couple of headers that were maybe chances. Obviously, they had one in the net, which was disallowed, but I thought the second we were in complete control. Aberdeen were only playing one way today, which was to try and hit us with that one ball counter, and it didn't work. And Rangers were thoroughly in control. A lot of chances in the second half, and a couple of really good saves by Kelroos and goals as well. So I was beginning to think, is it going to maybe be extra time? I didn't ever think, Derek, during it that we looked in trouble. I just thought, is this going to take a wee while to break down? And then Borna, fullback to fullback, it's just like the old days. Borna skips past his man. For the first time, really, in the game, we saw Borna being a wee bit progressive. Yeah. Going down the left-hand side, whips in a beautiful cross, it has to be said. Dessers does well to push his man and leave the space for Tavernier, and Tav does what Tav does and slots it away. And do you know what? I couldn't think of a better guy to have that moment after everything he's been through, the criticism he's received. We've all panned James Tavernier at one time or the other, and he continues to keep coming every single time, and we were well worth it. So, well done to the team, well done to the manager, and let's hope it's the first of what is many under Philippe Clement. And I think, do you know what? Quietly starting to believe that we picked a really, really good manager because the influence he's had on this team. Don't forget, he took over just after that trip to Cyprus and Limassol away, which was a bit of a car crash, to be fair. It was an absolute horror show.
Yeah.
And within that time, we've won our European group. We've won the cup today, and we're doing okay in the league. I don't want to say that we're back in it or we're going to do this and that. It's one game at a time for us, but we're starting to do well. It's all there for us again, Derek, and today has to be a springboard. It was a 1-0 win, albeit against a really difficult opponent. You want maybe more goals and stuff like that, I get that, but at the end of the day, nobody remembers cup final performances. All they remember is the winners and who's lifted the cup. And I'm delighted for everyone we've done it today, and I hope everybody watching enjoyed it at the end. Certainly, maybe not during a couple of nervous moments, but certainly at the end, that's for sure. This is what it's all about, Derek. Winning. Rangers is about winning. That's all that matters.
We've not had that for a while, Stevie, so it was fantastic to see the scenes at the end, even Philippe Clement getting in and about it as well, which I absolutely loved. Joshua, as Stevie said there, I think Aberdeen were there to spoil the party. They never really looked like threatening. I know there was a few sort of heart and mouth moments, particularly at the end, a bit of a stramash in the goal mouth area. But you'll watch it back, Joshua. I think Rangers were relatively comfortable, but you're thinking they're missing chances.
Begrudgingly watching that one back, Derek. That will be a tough rewatch. I'll give you that much.
Yeah, it wasn't the prettiest game on the eye, but listen, it was a final. There was a lot at stake. But for you, Rangers deserved winners, you reckon?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's a reason I think that Aberdeen Rangers have struggled quite a lot against Aberdeen this season because of the way that they play. They're quite direct. They go man for man a lot, and Rangers, especially in the first half, thought there was a bit of a change at halftime, which helped them. But especially in the first half, they weren't really able to get Todd Cantwell on the ball that consistently. They weren't able to build play. We spoke before the game, Stevie and I, about how Rangers have been going through over the block or around it. Not really got the personnel in midfield to play through pressure. And I thought the first half was the outplaying of that. Derek, you had one team in Aberdeen who wanted to be direct. Their method of attack was trying to get those flick-ons, get the 2v2s at the top end of the pitch that obviously garnered some success in the league game recently, and Rangers didn't really have the space or means to get forward at half-time. I think Sima played a bit more narrow. Rangers a move right at the start of that half, and it culminated when Barisic cut the ball back and it was blocked, and he maybe should have tried a shot, although it was a narrow angle. But it was one of the first times that you saw Rangers move the ball quickly and trigger the press and play around it, whereas before it had all been a bit stagnant. It had been a lot of long balls. Dessers hadn't really held the ball up. I thought after the half-time Dessers improved, obviously creates that chance for himself that could have been another memorable individualistic goal, and what's been a really good week for him. But that side, there was a couple more moments, wasn't there, Stevie, where he just seemed to give Rangers a little bit more at the top end of the pitch, and Cantwell started to get on the ball more. But what I think that allowed is that so what I think was key was Rangers won more the second ball. Similar to the game at Pittodrie, they weren't really being able to build territory in the Aberdeen half through possession because, as I say, they were going direct to Seymour Dessers. They were trying to go around, and that wasn't allowing them the control. But when they won the second balls in the second half, that allowed them to pin Aberdeen back a bit. They had the real control of the game, I think, in the second half in a way that they didn't before half-time. It was kind of up in the air. You felt the control in that match. And then who else but James Tavernier, Derek? It felt like a game where you looked around the Rangers team and you thought, who is going to provide something out of nothing? Who's going to score an individual goal? Who's going to pop up at the right place? And James Tavernier has done it again and again and again, fitting that, I think, in this new era under Philippe Clement. And we'll speak about the big picture, obviously, today and tomorrow. It's him that's really earned the place in the final with the 2 goals in the semi-final and the goal today. And the scenes at full time, we just spoke to Cyril Dessers in the mix zone, and I said to him, what's the message from Clement after that? And he said that there's no days off. They'll be in tomorrow. So I think they'll celebrate it tonight. You could see, obviously, emotion from Clement naturally that you've not seen so far, winning a trophy just 2 months into his tenure at Rangers. But even when Todd Cantwell, and you can watch his conversation in the mix zone there as well, it was quite a focus, I thought, about the way that Rangers spoke after that game. This is a big win. It's important for them to win another cup. They've not done it consistently enough. We've sat here plenty of times, just myself and Stevie even, kind of dissecting cup defeats in recent years. It's important for Rangers to get that, but I think there's a wider narrative that's developing, wider potential for this season. A season that when Rangers were beaten by Aberdeen a couple of months ago looked absolutely dead in the water, and now they've won the first cup. They're right back in the title race, and it looks like there's a real spirit developing in this squad that I don't think that was there a couple of months ago.
I will say, Derek, just quickly, I sat here and we all sat here and spoke, and I said that I think it was 8 points at the time. It may as well be 30. We were heading towards the kind of abyss of a season. That performance in Cyprus was dreadful, and they got away with it a wee bit because at that point we were looking for a new manager, and the kind of attention was diverted. The job in the last, he's been here 65 days, and the job he's done in that time is nothing short of incredible. John Lundstrom and Dujon Sterling in midfield today in a cup final would not have been anybody's choice at the start of the season, and the pair of them were excellent today. Sterling just covering and winning balls. Sima on the left-hand side when we signed him as a 9, tracking back, and that tackle in the last 10 minutes when the boy went past Barisic and then he won it and won the free kick. He's galvanised this whole team, but not only that, he's made believers out of every single one of us turning up to watch Rangers these days. And we need to keep grounded and just try and enjoy the moment. I think that's the best thing to say, but there's more to come under this guy. He knows what he's doing. He's got us going exactly the way we want to go, and I just thought that what Rangers are starting to do under him as well, Derek, is they're getting stronger in games as games go on. We got stronger today the more the game went on. What's that, mate? Sorry?
They're a lot fitter now. You can tell. It's evident that there's a lot more energy in there.
Yeah, I think so. But that was a big thing for me today. It's knowing when to really put the pressure on, when to up their game, and I thought that they done that today really well. I don't think there was really I don't think there was a disappointment in terms of performance today. I thought they all played their part. There was a few that really stood out. I thought Sterling was excellent in midfield, genuinely. I thought Lundstrom, again, Lunny steps up and really, really performs. And he's really stepped up basically since the managers came in.
Yeah.
So I think he was great. And then Tav, and we've given Barisic and Tav a lot of criticism, and both of them pitched up to make that goal and win the cup for us. So, listen, I may not look at Derek, but I'm absolutely delighted at this moment in time. Maybe if I smile, we might get some more likes on this video, but I'm just, you know what I mean? I'm overjoyed. Pride.
Yeah.
The wee fella was at that today, and Mrs. sent me a picture of him just looking absolutely. He looks like me, but 6 years old and smiling. And he's just like that.
I thought you were going to say looks like me, but 6 years older, and I was thinking that.
No,
that's concerning.
And just I've seen pictures of wee guys and wee girls at the game today and loving every single moment of it. And that's what the article was about this week on Friday when it went out. That this is a generation that we need to make sure understand what Rangers is really all about, and what Rangers is all about is winning, bringing home big shiny things, enjoying the moments, and just making sure because we are Scotland's elite team and we need to start proving it. And this is a first step on the way to doing it under Clement.
Yeah, so many comments coming in on various platforms. Let's get to a few of them. Interesting point there. Neil, evening Neil, he says, Big Lunny and Sterling were outstanding today. That was a difficult game, no doubt about it. Well deserved in the end. And just on Lundstrom, the wonderfully named Seafood and Eat It says Lunny is a rejuvenated player under PC. Sandy's not getting carried away, but he says a Scottish treble, another European final. We can only dream funny what a few months can do. That's the thing. It's been a very good week. I know that Jack Butland did say it was one of his best weeks in football, Joshua, when he was spoken to by Viaplay Sports on the pitch shortly after the full-time whistle. And he described the sort of togetherness as he has done before, that Philippe Clement has come in and simplified things. He says that belief has always been there in the dressing room, but they were just a little bit lost prior to the new manager coming in. And he has just sort of, you hear about that from players, that everyone's involved now. There is a real sense of togetherness amongst everyone in and around the club, and you can sense that relationship with the supporters is healing as well. Stevie's laughing there. What's going on in the?
It sounds like somebody's on a pogo stick in the corner of the stadium, just bouncing up and down. I don't know what's going on, but it's amusing. I'm in a good mood, but it's amusing me. So if you can hear what that noise is, that's what it is.
What I was going to say, Joshua, I was going to pose this question here. What a week it's been, as Jack Butland mentioned. I mean, the result in Betis was terrific, but to follow that up with the first piece of silverware of the season, and then the added bonus of yesterday's result from across the city as well, to give Rangers fresh and extra impetus in the league. Also, it's been some week. We could look back at the end of the season at this has been a big key week, a season-defining week, shall we say.
Yeah, I think there's long been questions, Derek. This Rangers team have faced questions about mentality, ability to get over the line. I think what they have shown is an inability to put pressure on in the right moments. If you're looking at the league in particular, and Rangers still need to go and win their games in hand. But would Rangers have won these two games in this week? And you've got to remember, Stevie's right to point out Dujon Sterling there, who I thought was one of Rangers' best players, arguably the man of the match, if not for James Tavernier's winner. He's playing in an unfamiliar position, recovered the ball consistently. John Lundstrom as well, a lot of ground to cover, and this is a team that is really makeshift. You're playing someone in Ross McCausland who's still not played much senior football on the right, injuries left, right and centre all over the pitch. When Philippe Clement came into the club, Derek, and obviously there's been 3 Blue Room press conferences around this time of year in the last 3 seasons, and Clement's compared to the previous 2 it felt a bit different. Firstly, it was in the daytime, so it was actually a different time of day. It was a little bit quieter. There was more of an unknown when Van Bronckhorst came in. It was clearly every single, I think, Rangers supporter, 99% wanted him. When Beale arrived, there was still a pretty heavy general consensus that he was the favourite. I think it emerged he was a favourite right from the start of the managerial hunt. And also, I think there was a belief that, okay, maybe this is one last chance to try and claw back the good times of a couple of seasons ago and get a bit more life out of that squad that people believed would have delivered far more days like this. So when Clement came into the club, I'm sure Stevie will agree, being at that press conference, was a bit more of an unknown, and he inherited a really difficult situation. He spoke about players having a clean slate, and that message wasn't one that he wasn't playing gallery with that comment, because people were frustrated at that time with players, weren't they?
I think it's a big thing to say about Philippe Clement and how he's came in. And I said this the other day to somebody. I said, what has Philippe Clement not mentioned when he's come in? He doesn't talk about Celtic. He doesn't talk about the league, and he doesn't talk about what he's going to do and how he's going to do it and what we're going to do. All he says is, and it's very consistent, he says we will focus on the next game. It's a puzzle that we need to put together, and I'm working hard, and I can make and improve this team and make this club better. And that's all it really gets. He doesn't get excited. He doesn't get over animated. And I don't want to come out and say that other managers did, but you look at managers that go into clubs and they say, and they fluff, they say things to get fans on side. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Yeah. Not once has Philippe Clement mentioned anything like that. His only focus is Rangers and what we are going to do and what we are going to do next. And he stayed grounded, and it's rubbing off on the players now as well, because you now see how they're responding and what they're doing, and that mentality of, even when he was asked about the league challenge after by the press, all he said was, and he was very grounded, he says, I'm just going to concentrate. The league's a marathon. This is, it's a long thing, and we can just only affect one game at a time, and we just need to do our own thing. And it's just such a consistent message. And in this last week, Derek, our biggest rivals have lost back-to-back games. We picked up a win in the league. We've won our group on Thursday, which was sensational. We've not given them enough credit for that. And then they went and won a cup final today. It doesn't matter how they did it. It doesn't matter that it wasn't 3-4-0. They went and won the cup final, and that's all we wanted from them today. And there's been so many questions around this team. They're serial losers. They don't do it when it's required. They don't win big games. They don't turn up. Well, they turned up on Thursday. They turned up last week when they had to win that game before Celtic played the next day. And it wasn't a massive game, right? It was a standard league game. But how many times have they faltered in games like that before? And then they came to a cup final today, and they deservedly won it. Yes, it was 1-0, but they were miles and miles ahead of being the better team in that. So we can be rightfully proud of this team, and they deserve all the praise and all the plaudits for what they've done in this last week. So it doesn't stop. We can enjoy it tonight, and tomorrow we go again, St Johnstone on Wednesday, and that's how it needs to be. We just need to keep going, keep winning, and keep playing. You just focus on ourselves, but we should be rightly delighted tonight, because that's massive for our team.
Yeah,
to go and get that over the line today is massive. It's a huge moment, and I've seen Rangers teams in the past be galvanised by League Cup wins and silverware, and I sincerely hope that the players will take that into this sort of festive run, which has got the potential. It's all there for them to really go and stamp their authority all over this.
Yeah, well, I was at that last League Cup triumph back in March 2011, no less. And who knew when Nikita Jelavic wheeled away celebrating that Rangers would go on the journey that they've been on. But there you go. But that League Cup has been delivered thanks to James Tavernier. Huge thanks, incidentally, to Charlie, who's donated to the channel. Thank you very much, Charlie. That is greatly appreciated. Thank you for that. And Rangers loyalist as well. We are the people for a reason, he says, and he donated to the channel. Thank you very much for that. Davey Reid is gifted 5 Rangers Review YouTube memberships. That's very kind of you, Davey. So if you want to become a member of the YouTube channel, folks, you get up to 3 extra videos per week. Then Davey has kindly donated 5 memberships. There was a lot of great comments coming in. I'll try and get to as many of them as possible. Just on Sima, Joshua, I think he deserves a shout out, as we've touched on. Paul McGarrigle says, "Dear Derek, is Sima running on Duracell? What a machine." Stevie summed it up when he tracked back and helped out Barisic in the dying embers of the game. Rangers, I feel like that clip when Rio Ferdinand, I think Manoli Gunnar Solskjaer had a decent start to his Manchester United interim role. Rio Ferdinand, the famous clip where he says, get the contract out, put whatever he wants on it, and get him to sign it. I feel like that's the case with Abdallah Sima. Rangers need to do whatever they can to get this guy because he has been sensational and was again today.
Yeah, I think every good performance makes it more difficult. You see, obviously, last season the standout lone player was Malik Tillman. Obviously, he's now went on and standout player for one of the form teams in Europe, PSV. So I don't think it'll be easy for Rangers to keep Sima. I think everyone would like him to stay. Fantastic. I mean, that tackle to track back after the run-in, he's not only given today, but consistently. We've spoken a lot about why his best position is on the left, and I thought in a different way he showed that today, Derek. And again, it's probably an example of Clement arriving, giving a player a clear role that's not really changed. A few weeks ago, he wasn't happy with the lack of goals that had dried up since he arrived, so he worked to amend that. And as mentioned before, the game, I think Ross McCausland's role on the right-hand side and having that natural width has helped. But and I guess more generally on Clement, just following on from what Stevie's said there's been so many false dawns about rebuilds and I think that at times has been quite confusing to read where Rangers actually are. What I think has been so refreshing about Clement is he's inherited a difficult situation. He's unbeaten, Derek, and if you'd said when he arrived at the club, what was it, October 15th, I want to say, so just over 2 months
given the injuries as well, Joshua, and suspensions and what have you, it's absolutely
and the lack of training time. And we probably underestimate that. I think I put this in my colour piece, the incident analysis with Chris, that Rangers have to work more solutions to get the ball through the pitch and be more controlled. But it's unrealistic to presume that everything will be ready at this stage because they don't have training time. And Clement said this in repeated press conferences, any day before a game is a recovery day. It's not as if they've probably had 1 week off, one international break, and then they had internationalists away as well. You think of the likes of Nico Raskin, who's out, Danilo, Tom Lawrence, to name a few. He has not had ideal circumstances, but he hasn't let that be an excuse. He hasn't spoke once about getting his players in. He's constantly worked for solutions. Again, to go to turn your mind back a couple of months ago, if you'd said Rangers are going to win the League Cup, and it will be Dujon Sterling in midfield and Ross McCausland on the right, and Ross McCausland who hadn't started for Rangers up until that point, I think that it's important to I think show the job that he has done so far and the belief that he has built up, Derek. So I totally agree with you on Sima. I thought Dujon Sterling was outstanding for Rangers as well today and felt quite similar to the Hearts game, and it was a kind of a slow, nervy first half, and they obviously get the rewards in the second half for a good bit of pressure. And obviously James Tavernier is the man who routinely steps up in big moments, and fantastic for him to get his hands on a trophy that's evaded him a good few times.
See, to be honest, see the job that Clement's done since he's come in, it's quite frankly ridiculous when you think about where we were and the position we are in, and for him to come in and do that job and manage to get out of what he's got out of these players. I mean, the turnaround in Lundstrom is disgraceful, really, and in terms of where he is now compared to where he was. It's it's brilliant. It's so good to watch, and full credit not only to the management but also to the players as well, because they've got to respond and they've got to take it on, and they have. And you just feel like you have something special when it comes to them. You really do. But going back to Sima a wee bit, we've got this guy that's come in who's raw, Derek, and he didn't start that well. People were maybe wondering. I wasn't too sure on him, and he's bought into absolutely everything, and to the point where he's playing the left wing, tracking back with 5 minutes left in a cup final, covering his fullback, winning a slide tackle, getting the ball, turning round, off he goes, and then he's fouled. And that's a level of buy-in that the manager's got, and all credit to him and to like Solani, who've have really kind of turned it round. And then the big fella up front, he didn't have his best game today, Dessers. It didn't really stick, and it didn't really kind of work out for him. But he's another one who could rightfully have chucked it, and he was down in the open zone there saying he loves this place, he loves this club, and he's absolutely delighted with today. So, he was unlucky. He had a kind of moment like he did on Thursday night. I thought when he twisted inside, he was going to fire that in as well. And that really would have been, if he'd done that, then I think at that point you just have to accept that maybe Philippe Clement is Harry Potter, if he's getting that out of him. But when you get a total buy-in, like I think we're seeing at the moment, and it's not great. Look, it's not always going to be wonderful and brilliant on the eye. It's not always going to be 4 or 5-0 wins, but football, it can't always be like that. You get a buy-in, and then you get a performance like today. That's your buy-in. That's what you're seeing on the pitch when the players are believing in it, and then the crowd are believing in what they're seeing as well. Then it speaks volumes for where we are compared with Joshua. If you look at that Limassol away game where it was just a horrible mess.
Yeah.
If you look at that compared to where we are now, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. We're going to be joined by Chris Jack, who joins us from what looks like the Hampden Auditorium. How are we doing, Chris?
Not too bad, Derek. Not too bad. How are we?
Yeah. Jubilant, I think, is a word to describe how we all are.
Derek,
yes.
Johnny told us to settle down today because we were getting excited. He told me to settle down because I shouted, "Come on, Rangers!" and I got a sideways eye from Chris. A wee wry smile on his face as well. And then Joshua said after Tav scored, he said, "Well done, Stevie," because I think Joshua was expecting the roof to come off from me, but I kind of just gave Joshua a quiet cuddle after being given into trouble off the boss man.
Was he behaving, Chris?
I think he's kept his composure and kept his shape remarkably well given the circumstances. as we all have, it has to be said.
Yeah. Let's get to a few of the comments coming in, and we'll get Chris's view. There's so many points coming in. I want to get to a few of them. James Cameron says, Stevie, give us a smell. Don't worry, you'll struggle to get that smell off his face, I think, for the foreseeable. This is what I love about people tuning in. Gordon says, 2:53 in Perth, Western Australia, and singing the blues. And there was another few of you watching from far-flung places, so thank you very much for tuning in. Tam McCann's making a public apology. He says, I doubted Seema and gave him abuse in August. I want to publicly apologise. I'm sure you're not the only one, Tam, but he's really turning up trumps for Rangers at this moment in time. There's a few other points.
Yes. So, Derek, see on that, and on like kind of apologies to players and stuff. See, if we were honest, I could sit here and have to apologise to nearly every one of them. Lunny, Tav, Goldson, the whole what. We're supporters. That's what we do. We judge it on what we see. We support the team, and it's going to vary up and down. So, we don't owe any apologies. We're here to support the team, and that's what we do. So, I don't think apologies are necessary. We just enjoy this tonight, and they can all be heroes. And as soon as there's one bad misplaced pass on Wednesday night, then we can.
That's Rangers, Stevie. Chris, I want you to put this point to you from Alan McKinn as he gets in touch. Even Alan says, just coming back from the game, brilliant. Give Goldson and Balogun a shout out, please. Balogun back into the centre half position today, Chris. How did you feel that those two did? I think certainly I know that Ben Davies came in against Betis, but for me, the Goldson-Balogun partnership is the one that you play domestically from here on in. I know there will be probably a bit of rotation going forward, but I thought the two of them coped with whatever Aberdeen threw at them today.
I think there's a few anxious moments, certainly towards the end, but you're always going to get that when you're 1-0 up going into the final stages of a cup final. Aberdeen also at that stage getting a bit more desperate. They're throwing bodies forward, they're throwing the ball forward even more readily than they usually do. But I think in that scenario, you see Jack Butland being commanding, you see him coming out and collecting the ball. You then see the two centre halves, as yourself and Alan mentioned, they're throwing their bodies on the line. They're doing everything they can just to also try and keep that clean sheet, because I think it was evident at half time the first goal was going to be the winner this afternoon. There were not a lot in it. Rangers created the better chances. Rangers certainly deserved to win it, but how many times have we seen Rangers sides in recent years being pegged back late on or losing late goals and throwing things away? So I think it's a huge credit to the goalkeeper, the centre halves, the full-backs, everyone that played their part in getting that clean sheet, because I think it was always going to be a day where a clean sheet was going to be hugely significant for Rangers, and that's how it transpired.
Yeah, Joshua, we touched on John Lundstrom there. The manager was asked about his contract situation. Of course, it runs out in the summertime. He was asked if it's something he's thinking about. He said, yeah, of course I'm thinking about that. That is something for the next weeks and the next months for us to discuss. I spoke to him already about that. He knows what I feel. I know how he feels. That is for the next weeks and months. Lundstram was asked about the contract situation. I think, was it last week? Or I'm not entirely sure.
A couple of weeks ago. He kept his cards close to his chest.
Yes. Yes, but I think we've discussed, me, Chris, and Stevie, I think I've discussed his contract situation on videos before and said, wait till May and then get round the table. However, do you think that should be rushed now and get him round the table, get him signed up for the next few years based on what he's serving up at this moment in time?
I think Clement said in that same quotes. I don't know where they came from, Derek, because obviously there's a fair few post-match interviews going out today. He said that he never hides, and I think that's true about Lundstram. In times, I think he struggled as a result of the way that this squad is built, because I don't think he's a methodical number 6 who suits the games when they're slow and is particularly at his best when he's unlocking the defence. But when a game's open, when it requires physicality, when it requires someone to go box to box, have pace and power in the middle, that's what he was initially signed to do. If you cast your mind back to the midfield that he came into, it was to not so much replace Stephen Davis. It was trying to play that right centre midfield role. Stephen Gerrard at that time wanted profiles who could take Rangers to the next level in European competition, which might not have been under Gerrard's tenure, but Lundstram obviously did that season. So I think Rangers still need bodies in that midfield. I'm looking forward to when Nico Raskin comes back, because I think he'll be another player who will benefit from a consistent position under Philippe Clement. And we're still to really see the sustained best of him after he arrived in obviously last January. But I would like to see Rangers still go and sign a player at the base midfield who can really run games and control games. But if you were to ask me just now, do you think Lundstram deserves a contract extension? I'd probably say yes, because I think he'd struggle to replace what he does give you. There's been a lot of focus as to what he doesn't give you at points. But again, probably similar to James Tavernier at points, he's struggled. He's been a victim of the fact that he doesn't hide, and he's not one of these players who will, he'll always be there. He'll always play. He'll always take the ball, sometimes to his detriment, and sometimes he's played in roles and positions that I don't think get the best out of him when he's always dropping into a back three. But Clement also spoke, and Giovanni Van Bronckhorst spoke about this as well, spoke about how tactically astute he is and how much instruction he can take on game to game. If players are repeatedly favoured by managers, they tend to be doing something right. So I think at this moment in time, there's probably not an immediate rush, because I think Lundstram would far rather stay at Rangers than anyone else. So, you wouldn't imagine that he's itching to get away. But based on performances in the last couple of months, I think you have to say that football that Clement plays suits him a bit better. Would still like to see a controller midfielder coming there in the summer, but I think Lundstram does have a place at Rangers going forward.
Yeah, Chris, the wonderfully named BiffBoy84 on TikTok has just posed a question I'll post to your good self. He says, the players look like a weight was lifted. And then he says, Bonham with the flag, lol. I did enjoy that when he was orchestrating the crowd. But the point about a weight being lifted, that was huge today, wasn't it? What can that do for Rangers' season ahead, and for a number of these players who that their mentality has been questioned down the years? What can today do for that going forward?
If it doesn't act as a springboard and a platform for them, Derek, then there's probably no real hope for them. It has to be seen as a day that Rangers go and kick on from. It has to be seen as the first of many. Obviously, for certain guys in the squad like Tav and Connor Goldson, it's completed their set, if you like. But they will admit themselves over the last few seasons they should have done that sooner. They should have won more trophies. They should have won more titles. Also, that's bygones. That's in the past. But I think it has to give Rangers something to really build on now. The manager was asked in his post-match presser if he felt like that barrier had been broken, and if they can go from strength to strength, and he basically said yes. And he said it creates a certain hunger for more. That's his mentality. That's how he's always been. And I think you get a sense from speaking to him that he's picked up on that mentality within the squad, not just in the last couple of days on the back of what they've seen, but since he's come in over the last 9-10 weeks, whatever it's been, since he was appointed as Michael Beale's successor. I think he's really he's bought into he buys into the club. He understands the history. He gets the standards. He gets the need to go and win. He also needs to then build a squad that's capable of doing that. But I think to go and do this so early on in his managerial reign at Ibrox says a lot about him. Says a lot about this squad of players. But if this is all they've won come the end of the season, ultimately it will be seen as another failed campaign. There's a bit of momentum build now. People are starting to get excited about what Rangers could potentially go on and achieve this season. But there's still lots of questions to answer. Can they go and put together a run of a dozen league games and win them all? Can they go to Parkhead and win? You've got a trip to Easter Road coming up. There's still things that they do have to address. There are still question marks about them, but what a position they put themselves in now. And if they can't find that consistency, if they can't find that mentality, having won a League Cup 2-3 days after coming back from Seville and putting in a great performance and getting a great result there, I said then there's probably no hope for them. If this isn't it, then I think we can probably write a few of them off. Hopefully, over the next few months, they will prove those doubters wrong and answer those questions in a positive way.
Yeah, absolutely. A few comments coming in. Alistair said, what a week, brilliant from the boys. It's 5:09 a.m. here in Sydney and been up since 2 and buzzing. Super stuff. And Steve risks hello from the Rockingham Rangers Club in Perth, Western Australia. Absolutely sensational. There's a point here in TikTok I wanted to direct it to you, Stevie, before you and Joshua depart into the night over there at Hampden. Ross in TikTok says, do you believe that Clement is the first proper manager we have had since the late, great Walter? He holds himself really well. A Rangers manager, for me, Stevie, has to have that sort of gravitas and that sort of, not arrogance, but the sort of an aura around him. And Philippe Clement certainly exudes that. Do you think this is Rangers have got a proper football manager in charge of the club now?
I think that we do have a proper football manager, but I wouldn't be wanting to put anybody in the same bracket as Walter Smith. I think that's incredibly difficult, for any manager. Let's judge Philippe Clement in his own right, and what he's done in 65 days at this club has been nothing short of miraculous, to be quite honest with you. So, do I think we've got a proper manager? Absolutely. Do I think that he's got everything needed to succeed? I think that if he can get something out of this squad, considering the place we were and how they were doing, then absolutely, I think we've got somebody that's worth, quietly being very confident over. I have been bitten before. I was very pro Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. I was massively pro Michael Beale, and they both weren't able to succeed domestically consistently. What we have now is somebody that has shown in a short space of time that he has the ability to go and really take this club on. He needs backed. He needs backed in January. I would say we need to get a few faces in. He's done his part. We've now got 4 league games where we could end up going into that January break in a wonderful position. So there's still going to be ups and downs, but do I think we've got a proper manager? Absolutely I do. And I'm delighted with. I think he's a nice guy. He speaks really well. He's good with the press. He's quite amusing at times, and in general, I think he's very impressive. That's what I'm certainly. Look, Derek, he's bald. We are the elite race, and none of this surprises me, to be quite honest. And on that, I think me and Joshua will go now.
Yeah. You get a hat on that Napa. You must be feeling the cold there.
It's freezing.
Right, chaps, thank you very much. I'll keep Chris on just for a couple of more minutes, and then we'll wrap up. Chris, James Tavernier netting the winner today. Now, there's a few comments coming in. Scott Arfield said it as well. I think Connor Goldson said it in his post-match reaction interview on the pitch as well, about just be grateful that he's here and just admire him and appreciate him while he's pulling on a blue jersey. Macca with the point says, as Scott Arfield says, enjoy Tav while he's here. 115 goals, quite incredible, really. Again, stepping up to the plate. I think we've discussed, there's been a few comments before, especially this season as well, where he hasn't been at his best about potentially Rangers looking for a long-term replacement there, but as ever, he pops up with a crucial goal and delivers. What a big moment it was for him today.
It was one of the points I made in the analysis piece that I filed just on the whistle here from Hampden. It's perhaps no surprise that it was Tav that steps up with that moment. It was an afternoon where Rangers were looking for a hero. They were needing someone to come to the fore. It was going to take an individual moment. I don't think it was a massive surprise that it was Tav that stepped up and produced that moment. Again, the manager was asked about him post-match, and of course, I think as is his usual, he said he was pleased for him, but then tried to bring it into everyone. But he did speak a wee bit about the role that Taff has played, and said he showed good quality the last couple of weeks. He's one of the leaders, obviously. He's always pushing to perform. He takes responsibility. He said he has never been hiding when we wanted to play. He's been important with his assists and goals. We need to continue that. If Rangers are going to have a successful season, James Tavernier needs to have a successful season. There's no one else who steps up as regularly as he does. Now, there's other players in the squad who have had good campaigns. Obviously, Jack Butland's had a great campaign. We've seen what Dessers can do. We've seen guys in midweek that have had really good individual moments as well, but consistently stepping up when it really matters, being able to be one of those guys who says, well, nobody else is going to do anything, nobody else is going to win the game, I'm going to go and win the game for you. I don't think it was a surprise that it was Tav that popped up with that moment. And it'll just be something that he'll really savour and really cherish. As I said earlier on, it does obviously complete his set. There's no one who has been through as many lows as he has over the last few years. And you think of the Old Firm games, you think of the cup games, cup final,
some dark days.
Obviously Seville, he has had to endure quite a lot. Certainly, he's had more bad times than good times, but I think that will make him. Appreciate the good times even more. I said, and to come to Hampden as a Rangers captain to score the winning goal and then lift the trophy, it didn't get much better than that.
Yeah, there's one more question I was going to pose to you, but I liked this point from Stuart. He says, anyone aware of how that Aberdeen Cup winning bus is? I think that's going to go for a respray. I think that won't be used, unfortunately, for the Dawn. So, a bit of a waste of time with regards to that. But, Chris, in terms of this week, it's been a sensational week. We were both in Seville, where Rangers upset the odds and defeated Real Betis on their own patch to qualify for the last 16 of the Europa League. Then we've had Celtic losing back-to-back league games, which has opened up the title race once again, coupled with the fact that Rangers have got the League Cup in the Ibrox Trophy cabinet after such a lengthy wait. Looking back on when we hit May time, when the league title, all the silverware and what have you is decided, this could be a very pivotal week that we'll look back on, isn't it?
It could be. I think when the guys were making the journey out to Seville on Tuesday, that was one of the topics of conversation. It was just how important these two games were, and the momentum that you can get from this week could be huge. Now, if Rangers then go and drop a couple of points on Wednesday night, it takes a sting out of it, and it takes Irby's feel-good factor down a couple of notches. But the second half of the season is now opening up for Rangers. If they can just get through, it's also difficult with a squad that's really down to the bare bones. There's a lot of guys out injured. We know the situation that the manager's working with. If they can get through these couple of weeks, keep the momentum going in terms of Premiership, who knows what the Old Firm game will bring it at the end of the month. You've then got, starting the new year at home to Killie, you've then got that break, which gives the manager time to hopefully get some players back. It gives them time on the training ground that he's not really had just because of the schedule, and it gives them a chance to hopefully add to the squad in the positions that I know we've spoken about in the last couple of weeks, and we'll certainly speak about moreover in the next few weeks as we head into the transfer window. This squad, as much as it has achieved so far, it still does need a bit of work done to it, and nobody should be getting away from that just because it has had a great result both on Thursday night and also this afternoon. Doesn't mean to say that there's not areas that do need a lot of improvement. If they can get that recruitment right during January, if they can spend money in the right areas, Rangers give themselves a really, really good chance, not just of challenging for the Premiership title, but winning the Premiership. And there's also a Scottish Cup at stake as well. We'll not get too excited yet about the potential road to Dublin. That's still that's still even further down the line, and there's certainly a lot of football to be played before we can start getting really excited about that. But certainly domestically, the next couple of weeks, the next month or so will define it for Rangers. One, in terms of what they do on the park, in terms of keeping the momentum going and putting themselves in the right positions, and then 2, off the pitch. If they can just get the January window right, something that, as we've spoken about, they've not done that for too many windows now. The recruitment hasn't been good enough overall. If they can nail January, I say everything is then opening up for Rangers in the second half of the campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. As a comment quite rightly says, Jim Back says, back to work tomorrow, another big game Wednesday, come on. And Ian Thompson, totally agreed with you, Chris. He says, absolutely, Chris, we need to support the manager with a good January window. And incidentally, I mean, finishing top of that Europa League group is good financially, because I think it's boosted the Ibrox coffers to the tune of, £4 million or thereabouts. So certainly good news heading into January, when we expect business to be carried out, both incomings and outgoings. Right, Chris, I think we'll wrap up there. Big thanks to your good self for joining us. I'll let you head off, but thanks very much for all your work today. There's if you want all the reaction, folks, from today's glorious match at Hampden, then you can watch the press conferences over on our YouTube channel from Philippe Clement. Barry Robson's also on there, but he actually spoke quite magnanimously, Chris, today. I know he was criticised after the game at Pittodrie recently, but I thought he spoke quite well of Rangers today. He says they were a good team, and that didn't have any qualms with some of his comments post-match.
No, I don't think he could really have too many complaints over how the afternoon unfolded. I think Aberdeen, I said that they had those chances that you expect to get in a cup final. Certainly in the early closing stages of the game. Sorry, but I felt it was always, if Aberdeen had scored first, I think it would have been hard for Rangers. I don't know if Rangers had 2 goals in them this afternoon. You look at the options from the bench, just look at how the game was scored. It was difficult for Rangers to create chances in that first half. If Aberdeen had scored early on, it could have been a really difficult game for Rangers, and could have been a very different afternoon. The longer it went on, Rangers dominated the second half, had that wee spell, had some really good chances. When they then don't take them, you're maybe thinking, is it going to be one of these afternoons? As we've said, Tavos then steps up with a great moment, and after that, I thought Rangers handled the game really well, and Aberdeen didn't really look like causing Rangers too many problems. So I don't think Barry could have that many complaints about how it's ended. Also, a huge disappointing one for them, because now they want to be getting 2 cup finals and they want to be winning cup finals. But I think Rangers was certainly more than worthy winners at Hampden this afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done, Rangers, on winning that trophy. It's been a long time coming, but go and enjoy your night, folks. You deserve it. But we will be back tomorrow, of course, for the morning briefing, where we'll discuss today's events in more detail. Huge thanks to everyone, incidentally, on TikTok live as well. Hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we'll speak to you tomorrow morning. Until then, enjoy your Sunday. Bye for now.